Back in May of last year, I took a look at the Full Mechanics 1100 Gundam Aerial, a kit so good I gave it Gundarium tier. Now, that is Gundarium tier for a Full Mechanics because it did absolutely revolutionize the line. Was it as good as a Master Grade? Not quite, but it was still absolutely phenomenal. So good I thought Bandai and hoped Bandai would build upon it, that we'd get maybe the aerial rebuild and maybe something like the Gundam Caliban based on this kit's core. But sadly that did not happen. This right here is the first thing we've seen from the Witch from Mercury Full Mechanics line since that, and that is a recolor of the original Aerial. This right here, what I'm taking a look at today, is the 1100 Full Mechanics Gundam Aerial Permet Score 6. For the most part, a recolor of the kit that we saw before, but still a very nice recolor at that. But yeah, this kit right here, it is a premium Bandai exclusive, so it can be a little bit hard to get, so you can get yours exactly where I got mine, and that was through Buyee. When it comes to the build of the 1100 Aerial, that's an absolutely fantastic kit. It builds up in a nice kind of way that's a little bit more detailed than the smaller, compact, high-grade version. It does some things better, and it does some things not quite as good. It's a different beast entirely. Now when it comes to the Permet Score 6 version right here, this is almost identical, at least physically it is. Color-wise it is similar too, but we do have a little bit more of a muted, almost murky color palette on it compared to the bright, vivid, standard Full Mechanics Gundam Aerial. It builds up in exactly the same sort of way. It is in Master Grade level or Real Grade level. It is very simple when it does come to the internal structure, somewhat high grade-esque, but a little bit better, especially in regard to some aspects like articulation. But you do not have a full inner frame, it's the usual joint-in grey parts, armor, then sandwiches on top of that in an almost hollow style way, but there is a couple of nice elements to the build as well. We've got some nice clear parts over the shell units, just like we would have seen in the standard version, but they have rejiggered the colors a little bit. Instead of having that red permit inside of the shell units, now we've got it in blue. This is extremely nice. It is a kind of candy-coated blue color, as in they chromed it out entirely first, and then sprayed it in a nice clear blue. Very effective. Over that then we do have some clear parts that has been somewhat impregnated with glitter, which does look pretty cool. If you get in really close you can see we've got lots of little speckles of nice metallic blue glitter, which does give it a little bit of a crackling permit kind of feel. Again, a very nice touch. Overall, the rest of this color scheme here is a little bit on the muted side. All of the colors are exactly the same as what we would have seen on Aerial, but brought to a kind of cooler, more muted, slightly murky kind of variant, but it still does look quite unique. The blue on this does have a kind of glittery pearlescent finish, so does the yellow plastic sections too. And the white, I'm not sure if it's a trick of the light or the overall color scheme with the white, but it almost looks a little bit cooler too, like we would have seen in the high grade offering. Like I already mentioned, the build on this is fantastic. It is very nice. The head is especially detailed with some fully color separated eyes, Vulcans, a nice shell unit in the head, and the best aspect about this entire build is there are 0 stickers. So 0 stickers you have to use to finish the kit. No color correcting stickers, no eye stickers, no camera foils, none of that. There are, however, stickers in the box, but these are decals and 100% optional. And as for what I did do after finishing the kit, I did decide to panline it. I asked on the Mecha Gaikotsu Discord what color to panline it in. Gray, the usual color, or in blue. Blue is what was chosen, so that is what I went with. I've never really panlined a kit with the blue panliner before, so it was interesting enough. And I did use some of the included stickers as well. Once again, a kind of unique color scheme compared to what we would have seen before, and maybe, just maybe, a couple of those might be a little bit UV reactive. So jumping on into the aesthetics, and here's what the Full Mechanics 1100 Gundam Aerial Permet Score 6 looks like out of the box with a bit of blue panel lining and the included stickers attached. Overall it does look very nice, just like the Full Mechanics Gundam Aerial, just now with blue permit, some glitter, and what it would look like with a bit of a kind of a bluish filter, because everything has a little bit more of a duller bluish hue to it, but overall physically it is the same as before. So yeah, everything we would have seen before is right here. Those great angles, the nice surfaces, the great clear sections, the nice permit underneath, the combination of pointy aspects and curves, everything that makes the Gundam Aerial as awesome as it is. So instead of going through absolutely everything on this version of the aerial in a vacuum, I think it might be, well, time we brought in the standard version of the full mechanics right here in order to have a little bit of a full side-by-side comparison. So there's the two of them directly just side by side, so you can see any kind of hue differences or whatever. I'm going to be taking a look at these under the exact same sort of light, the same angles, all that sort of stuff, so nothing should be thrown off at all. So yeah, that's what they're like together. As you can see, this one is a little bit on the duller side all round, even though there seems to be something maybe on the white that makes it glow ever so slightly more, which adds some brightness to the whites to actually bring it all together in a nice finished package of dull and bright. So first off, taking a little bit of a look at the head, and the heads on both of them are, again, physically identical. The only thing that is different is the color scheme. The thing that stands out the most, of course, is the fact that we have that nice new glitter-filled clear section up top with the Permet, which really does make it look like it's crackling off that very nice energy. Also, I will mention the eyes on the Permet Score 6, these are naturally like this out of box, that nice kind of metallic finish. I'm not sure about the 1/100 standard aerial because if I'm not mistaken, I think I might have given them a lick of paint. Next up, when it comes to the shoulder and the arms, these are extremely similar because there isn't really much besides the white and the grey. The grey on the actual brand new kit right here, the full mechanics, is in a metallic gunmetal. So that is not painted, that is more of an injection metallic gunmetal, and it does work out incredibly well. Also, once again, with the Permet up in the shoulder, this does pop a lot more because of the lighter clear plastic, but I will mention that does kind of lack a little bit of contrast compared to the original version. As for the backpack, once again, pretty much the same. We've got that metallic blue, we've got the pearlescent yellow, and we do have that Permet inside of the backpack center there. Again, brighter, sparkling a little bit more, but not quite as impactful as the red on blue. Otherwise, so, looking good. Down to the waist unit again, and once again, this is just a little bit of a palette swap. That's the front, and that right there is the back. So not a whole lot really in the difference. Last up then, of course, is the legs. Again, the only major difference between the two is the Permet shell unit up in the top part of the leg. It's now in that super bright blue with all the sparkly parts that really does pop quite a lot. But otherwise, very similar. Finally, jumping into a full spin comparison between the two, so you can see absolutely every bit of detail, every angle, all of that stuff, so you can decide on which one you prefer yourself. Honestly, though, they are pretty much identical, besides a little bit of a color shift and the Permet Score color. Honestly, I say go with the standard version if you really want an aerial, and go with this one if you kind of just love those scenes with the Permet Score 6, or if you just want to kind of have both of them to display together. Otherwise, they are identical in pretty much every aspect. Go for the color which you like the most. Both of these are absolutely phenomenal looking kits. They just really did revolutionize full mechanics 1/100. They're just solid, awesome 1/100s. Now there is one more kit worth comparing this to, and that is this right here. This is the high grade offering. This is the Permet Score 6 version of the high grade. Now I'm not going to go through everything like I did with the full mechanics. Let's just go with a scaled up full spin. So once again, a full 360 spin comparison between the two. We've got the full mechanics on the left, the high grade on the right, and once again, they both look great. I cannot see this now until I actually edit the video, so just from kind of observation of both of these kits, you can really see that the full mechanics is a much more streamlined beast. It definitely looks more like the aerial that are recognized from the anime than the high grade does. The high grade has a lot of nice sharp detail, an absolutely fantastic looking shell unit in the chest, but it does look a little bit stumpier and not as elegant as the full mechanics. Both, again, are absolutely fantastic. The detail is great on both. And even on zooming into the head, I still feel the full mechanics wins out overall when it does come to the aesthetics between the two kits. But they're all spinning there. Both are spinning there for your own judgment. Finally then onto a 1/100 size comparison so you can see what the aerial would be like if it was stand beside other Gundams from other universes, and there we have the Oryx 78-2 for the standard size comparison. As you can see, aerial is about normal height, but a little bit on the skinnier side, and on the left is the Origin, on the right is the 3.0. Some more kits just randomly off the shelves. On the left is the 1/100 Stray Outframe D, and on the right hand side is the Chinese Gundam Barbatos, Master Grade. And finally, beside the latest Master Grade releases, being the Master Grade Narrative Gundam Verka on the left, Master Grade Sinanju Stein Verka on the right. Jumping now into the accessories, and here's everything that comes inside of it. So it is just a color variant, once again, of what we saw with the standard full mechanics Gundam Aerial. So that is the swords, board, and beam rifle loadout. We do have a nice effect part for using with the beam rifle, and we've got a whole bunch of stuff up here, which is 6 swappable fingers for the hands, as well as some adapters and bits. Of course, the shield in here does do a transformation, but we don't have anything for holding onto the bit staves that it does transform into, so that is sold separately. So everything we've seen in here we have seen before with the other kits. So first off, we've got the hands. These are the hands with the swappable style fingers and the one thumb that is free. So this is basically what we see nowadays on a lot of master grades, or should I say not so nowadays. The last batch of master grades we would have been seeing when they were coming out quite regularly would have had these sort of hands. Swapping the fingers out is as simple as that right there, and we've got fists like that right there, which we've seen throughout the whole review so far. We've got one widespread left dynamic hand, and the other hands are for holding the weapons. Speaking of the weapons, first off, we've got a pair of beam sabers in here, same as before, except this time around, we do have the beams in that bright green. This, to me, is the most effective color of beam saber that is out there when it comes to Bandai, and the reason for that is simply because it does fluoresce the most. This is just over blue light, not even black light, and this really does kick out. If you got some blue LEDs in your display room, these will just glow all of the time. Getting the beam sabers attached is super simple. You just pop off the non-holdy fingers just like so, attach the beam saber handle into the holding hand just like this, left or right depending on the hand you're using, pop it on in. It's super simple. Get it in a bit of a pose, get a bit of blue or black light on it, and this will look absolutely incredible. Again, these green beams really go off, and this looks so good. When these are not in use, you can just remove them from the hands, take out the beam, which is quite tight, and then you can store them on these moving little storage sections on the backpack, just like so. The next weapon we have in here is the beam rifle. Relatively plain in a way, it's just 2 pieces and a little section that's popped in up in this sight bit there. Again, this is the gunmetal injection plastic, unlike what we would have seen with the other version. There is the standard Aerial's beam rifle just for the sake of comparison. So standard Aerial in that kind of blue-gray, and the new one here in this nice reflecty injection gunmetal. Getting the beam rifle into the hands is exactly the same as what we saw with the beam sabers, except it's a little bit more on the awkward side, because when you're actually attaching on the trigger fingers, they don't actually grip or hold onto the rifle at all, so you do have to kind of balance that whole thing while attaching it into the hand. But once it is attached in, first it doesn't feel like it's very secure, but once you get it in right with the thumb and everything, it does hold on perfectly, and it looks very nice. I'm just going to get this into a quick pose. That is the first pose that always comes into my mind when it's in the air, and that is the strike style shooting pose, which looks like that right there. So looking really good, looking really nice. I'm backtracking a tiny little bit. This kit does have a 3mm hole in the base for using this with whatever you want. So you just pop off this little protection bit right here. You can use whatever stand with a 3mm peg. I'm using the Simple Stand by Good Smile Company, which is a small stand, so it's kind of funny that does work out. This is not a heavy kit in any regard, so this has no issue with it whatsoever. But this kit does have your standard master grade style base adapter inside of it as well, if you want to use that instead, with bigger, robust action bases by Bandai. When the beam rifle is not in use, just pull out that beam effect, take it out of the hand, grab this base adapter section, slap that onto the side of it, and then you can attach this all onto the backpack just like so into that hard point, and it holds on well and can rotate a little bit, well, all the way if you want to mix up the angle it's at. Last tip in here, we do have the, what's it called again? Escutcheon, that is it. So this is exactly the same as what we would have seen before. That is what it looks like when it is assembled as a shield. Unlike some Gundam kits, you can't actually choose which side of the arm this attaches onto, but Aerial does have a fully rotating forearm, so it does not matter. Attaching it on is simple and effective. It's just a peg into a hole. It holds on perfectly. That's what it looks like. Rotating it into position is really nice too, and that is what it looks like when it's used as a shield. Again, solid, works well, not much else to say. Just like we would have seen with every version of Aerial so far, you can split up the escutcheon right here into all of its various little elements, which are the bit staves. Now, as it stands with this box itself, you won't be able to display these in any kind of way. You have to buy the sold separately little stands for using these with. It looks like this, they pop on like so, and it does fine. But you can use really any kind of 3mm peg stand out there as long as it's got the hollow adapters too. That is a 3mm peg to 3mm peg, or there's just 3mm pegs into this sort of thing. But yeah, most of these kind of stands out there should work with these, but if you want to be super safe, I say go with the Witch from Mercury ones. And that is what it will look like posed a little bit with some of these bit staves flying around. Finally then we've got that bit on form, again same as we've seen with all the other versions of the aerial in the past. That is, you just take all those elements that were the bit staves that previously were the escutcheon, then you attach them onto a whole bunch of different areas on the actual mecha itself as well as onto the beam rifle. This is what you get in the end and it does look fantastic. I've always felt the aerial just looks that little bit more dynamic and powerful with all this stuff attached onto it, and to me this version even shines a little bit more in this particular form. It does look excellent. Overall, this looks really nice, and the new color scheme is pretty cool. What can I say? It's pretty awesome. So finally now onto the articulation. The build quality on these kits, the full mechanics, are great. My regular old one, which is right here, which is a year old, is still holding up fantastically. It doesn't fall off the shelf or anything. It does have barbatos, however, so it will faceplant unless you tighten these up. I haven't tightened them up, but I recommend that you do, because yeah, it's just gonna faceplant, but that hasn't happened, thankfully. But yeah, because I went through it all before, I'm not gonna go through it all again. I'm just gonna do the basic pose, and we'll see how it works out. So it does come to the articulation on the full mechanics Gundam aerial. It's deceivingly good. Even while building it, it doesn't feel like it's going to have a crazy amount, but it's in all the right places and all the bends just work the way you need them to, and in the end you get a nice lunge, nice waist movement, nice crunch, and overall what you get is fantastic. Nothing really lets this kit down. Again, it's simple in some regards, but a lot of attention's been put into all the right places. Nice ankles even, that twist in barbato style. Again, like I said, barbatos, so you might have to tighten that up right there, but it's a nice toe bend anyway, and overall everything works nicely. Even the ab crunch on this is quite good to keep it nice and dynamic all of the time. This won't balance by itself, however, but if you stuck something in there, it would. But otherwise, no. So anyway, that right there is it for the review, and once again, if the other kit was Gundarium tier, then this one is too. Now I will stress that that is Gundarium tier for a full mechanics kit. The bar is a little bit on the low side, not saying that this kit isn't spectacular, it's just if it was any other grade it might have been in the platinum zone. It's just Gundarium tier when it does come to full mechanics. Going through the list, and first off, aesthetically this is very unique. It's just the same physically as what we would have seen with the standard full mechanics aerial, but now we've got the very bright blue shell units, the glitter in the clear parts, and that almost color graded looking look to the armor in general. It's a little bit pastel, a little bit murky, but at the same time it really does suit very nicely with the blue shell units. It's the same high quality, awesome level of detail as we would have seen before, and looks beautiful. When it comes to the accessories, it's everything we would have seen before as well, and that is a good thing. Everything works well, from the beam sabers, now in that nice fluorescent green, to the beam rifle, to the escutcheon, which can be used in multiple different forms. Everything is great. Finally then, when it does come to the articulation, it's shockingly good. I always forget just how good it is in this kit. I expect it to not be that great, and then this thing just does it so well. It's simple when it comes to the build, but all the movement is in the perfect right places, and it's solid as well, which is perfect. Again, fantastic kit. Whether or not you want this particular color variant yourself, that is up to yourself, but if you do want one of your own, I got mine through Buy, and you can too. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more gunpla reviews, and I'll see you next time. As always, I can't finish this video without special thanks to those who support the channel on the memberships as well as over on Patreon, including Abraxas, Caleb Engelhardt, Joe, RG59061, ShadowWolf179, 10 Soldier YT, and Van Fawn.